Welcome into Wrestling Spotlight Weekly Champions. We are talking about the world of pro wrestling because it's on fire right now in the WWE and AEW, and especially in Lyon, France. I'm joined by Sonny, the Man Eagle Cain. You're seeing less and less of him each week. He's on that weight loss drive, and Sonny, I saw you're down 25 pounds, right?
Down 17, sir.
Down 17. Okay, you're racing for me. My weight loss goal is to qualify for the NWA Junior Heavyweight title. I need to lose 4 more pounds. It's 225 is the limit. I'm down to 229. And Martina Barnett is joining us as well. And Martina, thanks for coming on. You see her on Wrestling Spotlight and on the Fired Up Network. And she is driving every day to get Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, the head of the table, the former undisputed Universal Heavyweight Champion of the world, back on the island of relevancy, acknowledging him daily. Well, yeah. Hey, I the thing that I think has to start it, because I watched Backlash, and usually Backlash historically has been one of the most poorly received, lowest regarded premium live events, because I mean, it's coming off of WrestleMania. You're coming off this high, this peak. It makes sense you get a little valley. And this year the WWE changed things up. It's not all rematches of WrestleMania matches, and I think most importantly, it wasn't in the US. It was in Lyon, France. And my God, that was the most intense crowd I've ever seen. I can't remember it. I mean, Sonny, the arena was shaking. It was literally shaking. And this isn't like a high school gym. This is a major market professional arena. It's the third biggest city in France. I mean, this is like a legitimate NBA, NHL arena. The arena was shaking. It was so loud. I've never seen that. Have you ever seen a show anywhere where it was so loud the arena was shaking?
I haven't seen the arena shake, but when I was in the Dorton Arena, we would get so many people in that the fire marshal had to come in and escort some out.
Okay.
And the Dorton Arena held or holds about 5,000 people.
Okay.
So that gives you an idea of how big the arena was. People were up on the columns peeping in.
Yeah.
Trying to see the shows.
Martina?
I have a story. I'm so glad you mentioned the Dorton Arena, because being from North Carolina, and as I always say, wrestling is in my blood. My parents tell me all the time, because they've been married for 45 years this year, and they tell me all the time when they were dating, they used to go to the Dorton Arena and watch wrestling. They're like, they talk all the time like, oh, we saw Ric Flair, we saw Ricky Steamboat, and just hearing that, putting it into perspective. Ric Flair is still with us, thankfully. I'm like, that man has been around a very long time, that he was wrestling 45 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's still with us. It's amazing.
And still engaged. But if you haven't watched Backlash, by all means, get on Peacock and watch it. The fans sang in every word of Randy Orton's song. Randy Orton's used that song since 2009. He told Bleacher Report after the event, I've had the same song since 2009. I've never had anyone sing me in. It was like when Chris Jericho was coming into Judas and all the fans would sing, I'm coming. And they were singing Judas after the music stopped. They were doing that for everybody's song.
Yes. It was
just
crazy.
Amazing.
They knew all the words.
Yeah, they knew what to say. They knew the chants. Then the one that may end up catching was 1-2 Sakura Blue. That was going every time there was a near fall. But, the WWE didn't just capitalize with an intense crowd. They also broke their record for the biggest gate receipts. Not the biggest attendance, but the biggest money made for a SmackDown, and they broke the record that was just set in Philadelphia at the Wells Fargo Center. And I was there, and I can tell you it wasn't like that. It wasn't that loud. It was loud at times, but it wasn't anything like that.
It was so crazy. I'm sorry.
It's just amazing. No, it's just amazing. It's incredible.
I was just gonna say, remember when it really put into perspective how crazy it was when Jey Uso came out and he's doing yeet and the camera is literally shaking, or when they put the camera on AJ Styles' face, and I was like, what is going on? Like the camera was literally shaking, and at first I was like, oh, is the cameraman jumping up and down? And then you realize like, oh, that's literally the place is rocking for real.
Yeah. And
literally shaking. That's insane.
Yeah, you couldn't hear Michael Cole and Corey Graves for part of it because they were getting overwhelmed by the noise. And you know what, Sonny, it had to be a weird feeling for Cody Rhodes coming out as the American Nightmare to a deafening crowd and the fans singing "Adrenaline is in my blood."
From what he's been through, I would assume so, sir.
Yeah. And a great match too, because the other thing I'm noticing, and I put it on Twitter this week, following Backlash and Monday Night Raw, they are wrestling a different style in the WWE. It's not just a new era in terms of who's in charge. These matches now are looking a whole lot more New Japanish, because the match with Ricochet and Ilya Dragunov, that would have looked perfectly at home on a New Japan card or an AEW card, and that wasn't happening on Monday Night Raw. I mean, there were lots of people calling it Monday Night Rawful for years, the end of the Vince McMahon era, because there was no need to watch it. You'd see a bunch of talk segments, a couple of matches where the people just weren't doing anything, and it wasn't the wrestlers. The wrestlers could go. The guy who probably took the brunt of the criticism was the almighty Bobby Lashley. And people were getting online saying, "Oh man, why is this guy out here? He can't wrestle. He can't do anything. He's just a body guy." Well, the actuality is, and I don't know if you guys know this, Bobby Lashley was the U.S. military amateur wrestling champion. The guy is a legitimate amateur wrestling champion. He can do anything, but he was told, "Hey, we're just doing this. This is it. This is our style." What do you think? Why do you think that changes? Is it because of competition? Is it because of AEW and now, hey, there's legitimate competition out there. Man, we can't just go through the motions. Is it a combination of the wrestlers wanting to do more? Because I noticed a change as soon as Cody got there, because in Cody's matches and Seth's matches, they weren't like the other WWE matches at the time. They were going. What do you think, Sonny? Is that a change that happens from the top down, or sometimes can the wrestlers encourage the office to, hey, let's change the style, man. We want to go. We want to show people what we can do.
Well, I think it's a combination of the two, because the office is usually the booker of the show, and you have to adhere to what the booker's telling you to do. But I think today the wrestlers are wanting to get back to more of the grappling style of the 1980s, even, where they're bringing out their characters more and more, larger than life characters like Cody Rhodes and like Randy Orton. Randy Orton actually made a comment that stuck with me this week. He said Raw had flown by the seat of its pants for a while, and I knew what that meant. That meant that they ran out of ideas. They weren't entirely sure of what to do to fill the time slot, and they had to do something to regenerate the vibe. Because if you lose the vibe with the crowd, the connection to the crowd, you've lost the show. And that's money out the door. And obviously, Triple H is seeing that. And if I'm right, I also read that Saudi Arabia is wanting to get WrestleMania over there.
I think everybody wants it.
About that, because that's the first. I don't think that's ever happened. And they want either a Royal Rumble or a WrestleMania event there in their country. And I think that's outstanding for the guys. The guys have always gone overseas, and the service type events and whatnot to entertain for the troops.
Sure.
But to go as a house show overseas is something brand new.
Yeah, and you know what? I think it is. No, not to like this degree, because you have a run of PLEs that are going to be overseas. You had Backlash, you got Clash at the Castle, which obviously that is a specific PLE designed for the UK. Then you have one in Germany. You have King of the Ring in Saudi Arabia, one of their semi-annual shows in Saudi Arabia. And not only are they resonating at a crazy level with the European fan base, I think it's driving up the interest in the US PLEs. I'm not going to be able to make it to SummerSlam, but our correspondents, the wrestling junkies, the podcast dad, Mr. Cincinnati, they're going to take the trip from Cincinnati down to Cleveland for it. And they had to get their tickets early because pre-sale for SummerSlam started Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. I had the pre-sale code. I went ahead and logged on at 9:45 to see how many people were in the queue. There were 27,800 people in the queue for the pre-sale code, meaning they registered. And that's not really, when WWE has pre-sale, that's not really the first opportunity to buy them. The first opportunity is the priority pass, because you can already put money down for your WrestleMania tickets today for next year in Las Vegas. On priority pass. If you want to, you can put a deposit down of $500 for the priority pass premium seats on the floor in the first deck or the second deck.
Oh, new information. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Because
I didn't know they came out a year in advance.
Yeah, I didn't know that either, because a lot of my mutuals and I were saying like, hey man, we have got, after seeing, you're exactly right, that the overseas PLEs are increasing the interest because, you know, after seeing France, I was like, oh my God, I want to go to WrestleMania. And I'm like, I know it's going to cost a coin. I'm like, I'll do whatever I need to do, especially, you know, skipping ahead, but especially, you know, it's projected that we're going to finally get The Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania. I'm like, I missed it this year. I will not miss that match. I am going. So let me find out. Okay, let me need to write that down. I just need to go put down $500 and get the priority pass.
Priority pass. And a word of advice, which I already did, because I knew how much the hotels spiked up this year in Philadelphia. I stayed at no paid endorsements. What the heck? I may as well say the name. I stayed at the Lowe's in Broad Street in Philadelphia. Beautiful hotel, 4.5-star hotel, really nice. Right there, Market Street. Sorry, right there on Market Street, just across from the Reading Terminal. It was, when I booked it, $400 a night. By the time you were coming up to WrestleMania, it was up to $1,000 a night.
Wow.
If you book the Venetian right now, which I went ahead and I reserved my rooms at the Venetian. Yeah. Because the rumor is they're going to announce that SmackDown and Raw, and then also NXT, will be happening at the Sphere, which is attached to the Venetian and has a partnership with UFC and also Madison Square Garden, because Madison Square Garden is who owns the Sphere. You can get a room at the Venetian right now for an average, if you book the stay from the whole WrestleMania period, of about $300 a night. I guarantee you that'll spike up. The rooms for Formula One are going for over $1,400 a night.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
So book your room now.
Ooh, that's
the
right.
money
I was
is
say,
saved. You can
pull out the credit card.
Hoping for the best are gone.
Take my money.
Yeah. Book your room now. Obviously, there's tons of hotels in Vegas, but book them now before the rates spike up. I was surprised. I thought I waited too long, but got ahead, got them at rack rates. So you got to get in there early. But the lesson is they've basically already sold out SummerSlam. Cleveland Brown Stadium seats about 72,000. They had 27,000 in pre-sale. You can buy up to 4 tickets. I mean, do the math. That's almost 100,000. So it's going to sell out.
And did you peep what they did a couple weeks ago? Like WWE, I really admire, I have always admired how they are masters of psychology. Like, I don't know if people pick up on some of the things they do, but this one, I was like, ooh, they got me with this one. Did you see how people, people are inquisitive and people were like, oh, Roman is going to be at the SmackDown before SummerSlam. And people were tweeting it, like a picture of the screenshot from the website and everything. And then I swear I saw it. And as soon as I went to the website, it was gone. And I was like, oh, they did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Because they know people are going to be like, oh, I'm going to go. And I was like, they got me. Because I'm like, I want to see it. I was like, man, they do stuff like that all the time. But I just thought that was just one way that I was like, man, they are so good at reeling us in, like hook, line, and sinker every time.
Oh, well, the return's going to be huge. And you can already see, here, the battle lines of the Bloodline coming together with the Guerrillas of Destiny, fresh from New Japan Wrestling, teaming up with Solo Sikoa, and the work of your new Hall of Famer, Paul Heyman. Did you catch Paul Heyman kind of cowering with fear to Tama and Toa and Solo? He doesn't look the reverential that he is with Roman.
That's absolutely right. And like, what was it? I can't remember if it was Raw or SmackDown when the crowd started chanting, "We want Roman," and Paul's like, "You have more than you know. I want Roman as well. Like, I want him too." And did you catch that? The Tonka twins. Did you catch?
Yeah.
That they're gone from WoW.
Yes,
now, what faction does not have any women that we've been saying might need some women?
Which is unusual because most WWE groups, there's a woman, right? The OC has Mia Yim. The Pride has BFAB.
Yep.
Legado del Fantasma, Carmen Electra, LWO, Zelina Vega. You said
Carmen Electra? You mean Zelina Vega?
Zelina Vega's in the LWO.
Oh, you meant Elektra Lopez. You meant
Elektra Lopez. That's who I meant. There's a lady in each faction. So absolutely, they're available.
I was like, that's very fitting. And of course, I've been saying for the longest that they should bring in Naomi and Nia somehow. I'm like, I'm not gonna let it go. Bring in Naomi and Nia somehow. Like, I want to see it all come together.
Sure.
But I think they're doing a good job of pacing. And I just want to circle back around to something you said. I too have noticed there's more wrestling than there was. And
very much so.
I feel like it started at WrestleMania because a lot of people were saying, and I caught this too, even for Roman Reigns, he was doing a lot of moves that he doesn't usually do during that match with Cody. You don't see him do a lot of suplexes and bridge pins. No. And I was like, oh, okay, Roman. But you're absolutely right. That match with Ricochet and Ilya, that was crazy. I have rewatched that match so many times, and because it went by so quick, it was so intense. Yeah. Like, wow. So I just wanted to say, I think that the NXT call-ups are also bringing in some fresh blood. These young, super athletic, super talented wrestlers like Lyra Valkyria and Ilya and Carmelo Hayes and so many others. I think they're doing a good job of balancing because, for the longest time, one of the biggest critiques of WWE is all talk. They don't wrestle. It's just talk. And I'm like, it's like they really took that to heart and now they're balancing things out a little better.
Yeah, and the veterans are doing it too because the final match with Sheamus, and hey, we opened up the show talking about weight loss. Got to acknowledge Sheamus because, man, he's probably 15 pounds lighter than he was in his return match to Raw. But that was a terrific match with Sheamus and Gunther. And if you wonder if they were hitting each other, take a look at Sheamus's picture that he posted to Twitter. He was beaten down on his chest. But that was a hard hitting match too. And Sonny, I wanted to ask you, Sonny, because I wonder if it's really just as simple as going from Vince to Hunter, because Vince McMahon wouldn't let him say professional wrestling. And he actually would point blank say he doesn't like pro wrestling. It's sports entertainment. because, and I agree with both of you. The talk was, oh man, they can't fill the 3 hours. You have Ricochet on the roster. The guy, you wind him up, let him go for a half hour. You have your
And see
time
what can
filled.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it literally just that simple that Hunter's saying, hey, go. You guys are veterans. Call it. Just go. You got 25 minutes. Just go.
So ordinarily what would happen is the wrestler would talk to the booker and say, I feel like I can go. And it's 99% of the time up to the booker. Now, occasionally you do have situations where the guys go overboard, things go that aren't planned, real fights break out. And especially in the heat of title matches, has been my experience when the belts don't always drop according to plan or according to how it should go.
Sure.
And that's what the fan doesn't realize. That's where the realness comes in and your training comes in. Um, I was, I'm thinking he probably went to McMahon or to Triple H and said, I want to go longer. Can we work this into the script? I know when the WWF scouted me, they wanted me to be a professional fall guy, basically. And
Yeah.
I said no to that because it was a career-ending situation for me if I had done so. And they understood my position, and I stayed on the Indies where I was.
Sure.
But did anyone hear Paul Heyman say at the Hall of Fame award ceremony that it was time for ECW to make a return? Did
Yeah.
anyone hear that but me?
Sure did. Yep. And he pulled out his leather jacket and his ball cap. He held court at the Wells Fargo Center for about 45 minutes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely see a little bit of that. And who knows? I mean, they're going to Netflix. You can add time. I mean, they can put it on whatever TV show they want to, because here we see it right here with our channels. Content is the king. You need programming, right?
That's right.
Right.
Did y'all see that USA posted that starting in September, SmackDown and Raw are both going to be on USA? I thought that was good for them. I like that.
Yeah, just until the Netflix contract takes over, which is going to be a different world, and probably coincides with the end of the PG era. Let's talk about a couple of the other matches that happened in Backlash. We do have new women's tag team champions of the world, and you saw it coming because at WrestleMania it was obvious that Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill were going to be champions real soon. I've been saying on this channel now for a couple of months that the bigger women's signing isn't Mercedes Moné going to AEW, and that is a big signing. The bigger signing is going to be Jade Cargill going to the WWE. And it was kind of ridiculed. It was dismissed. Oh, she can't wrestle. They're not using her because she doesn't know what she's doing. She is a one of a kind, a unique athlete. You can't teach that. And the way she's captured the crowd in only really 4 appearances. She's
Right.
right there at that same level of domination that she was in AEW. And I don't know if anyone's going to beat Bianca and Jade besides the inevitable of Jade and Bianca beating each other. What do you think?
Bingo. I agree with you on that. I think they did a good job of pacing with that one as well. And I was actually glad to see that Asuka and Kyrie and them, they actually had a good match. I was glad it wasn't just a squash match.
Yeah,
and
they
I
didn't
think they
just
knew that
pummel
they
them.
had to do that because that was going to be a critique. Had they done that, people said, oh, they just handed them the belts. They didn't give a real match. So it was actually a good match. And, seeing later that Asuka was actually injured, like hats off to her that she did that. Now she's out injured like everybody else apparently. And y'all, like, everybody's injured. I'm sure we'll talk about that. But but yeah, it was a really good match. And I'm not gonna lie, I had a moment where I was like, man, I'm glad that it's really good to see. Of course, it's great to see some Black women on screen, but it's also just good to see the women in general actually being able to show their talent, because we all know the time when it was just wet t-shirt contest and it was just they were purely there for to be sex symbols. And
Sure.
I'm glad to see Triple H actually really giving these matches some time and real storylines and real gimmicks and, you know, actually putting some effort into it. So I was like, this is a win. Everybody wins.
Yeah, I mean, it was a legitimate match, and yeah, like you said, Asuka was hurt, and now you're building that division up to the point they added a mid-card title for the NXT women. I think they should really do one for the main roster too.
Yes, that's what
Let's
I
have a
said.
women's US title.
That's right, because there's so many. Yeah, the women, we don't have, they don't have a U.S. title. They don't have an intercontinental title. Now they don't have the speed title. You know, you're either the tag team champion, the SmackDown Women's Champion, the Raw Women's Champion. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, they could add one. Why not?
They walk a fine line.
Yeah.
I guess they don't want to be like AEW, because I'm sorry, they have too many titles, in my opinion.
Sure,
like there is a balance, because over there, everybody has a title. You get a title. You get a title. You get a title.
Well, I enjoyed. I think Jay White was kind of poking fun at that with his walkout last night. I don't know if you saw it. He has the baseball bat he got from Sting and Darby Allin and painted gold for Billet Club Gold, and then he has the Unified Trios title, the ROH Trios title, and the old AEW Trios title, and he's carrying them in on the baseball bat. So I think the Switchblade is pointing out, hey, there's a ridiculous amount of belts. Here's how I carry my belts. So yeah,
I think so
totally
too.
agree.
Yeah, it's a lot going on, and I understand what they're trying to do though. And I actually think the trios title, I'm not opposed to that. I actually wouldn't mind seeing WWE with the trios title, because
Sure.
like we were saying earlier, we have these factions and they're getting bigger and bigger. Like, why not? They could do it now. Before, they might not have had enough people or teams to justify it, but now I think they do.
Absolutely. Sonny, what was your favorite title besides the World Championship?
Favorite title?
Yeah.
Probably the United States Heavyweight Championship title and the NWA World Heavyweight title.
Sure.
Was my
okay.
favorite.
What do you think, Maria? What's here's the Wrestling Spotlight title right here. Got it right there. What's your favorite non-heavyweight championship title?
Me?
Yeah. Martina.
Okay.
My favorite non-heavyweight, I like the U.S. title too. I like
U.S.
it.
title? Okay.
I like it. And honestly, now, speaking of like beating your expectations, I said this before, but I'll say it again. When they first put the title on Logan Paul, I was like, oh my God, this is, talk about buying your way to something. But now I'll give it to him. I do think that he is worthy of holding it, even though he doesn't defend it that much. But, you know, then again, his logo's in the middle of the ring. So, I mean, I think, you know, we weren't expecting him to be defending it every show or anything like that. But I will say, I do think that I do like how I feel like they're planting the seeds for a feud with him and Jey Uso. But will they let Jey win? Like, I'm sure you've seen, there's been this huge push that a lot of people feel like Jey should have dethroned Damian Priest. And he's right. How can he be the main event? How can he be the most over face? He's more over than Cody right now. And he has no title. I'm like, that's a problem. That's a problem. I don't like it. Give him a title.
Now, you can say, getting into the details of that match, he obviously had Damian beat. It was only the interference from J.D. McDonough, still showing the wounds from the Super Bowl championship ring punches to his giant head. And
poor J.D.
Prince
poor J.D.
Finn Balor. Now, Finn Balor making the Bullet Club references directly on WWE programming, referring to himself as the Prince, the original founder of the Bullet Club, Finn Balor. And references by Michael Cole of the Bullet Club in the championship match. So they're leaning in a lot more to the wrestling universe around him.
They are. And you know that I asked this on another show. I'll ask you guys too. Speaking of Bullet Club, do you think at some point they will address Tama Tonga and Tama Loa in the Bullet Club, or that we're just going to act like that didn't exist?
Oh, no, they did. They did. They actually gave their history, talked about them being Haku's sons and how they were tearing it up in Japan. And I did hear on a WWE program, not on TV, but one of their YouTube shows, that everyone from the original Bullet Club is now there except Bad Luck Fale.
Oh, you're right. They did address it, but I guess I should have been more specific and say address that specifically with Cody or Finn Balor.
Yeah.
Like I wonder, are they going to commingle these at some point? Some kind of stare off or something? Are we gonna get into that?
Yeah, there's plenty of them, because they did point blank mention. They actually gave I think they gave Cody a little promotion that this WWE Undisputed Championship matchup is against former leaders of the Bullet Club.
Yeah, they.
I don't know if Cody was ever technically the leader of the Bullet Club. Right. But yeah, close enough. Why not?
Right.
Why not? Close enough. But yeah, that is a good point, because Jay is getting under a little bit of heat, right, in wrestling media, saying, "Hey, come on, man, you never win. They got to give him a shot." Sonny, there's a history of babyface wrestlers always challenging and never winning, because the chase is more important than the actual reward. I mean, Dusty Rhodes made a career out of never having the championship, or having very, very short reigns if he did win it. Is that what they're doing with Jey Uso, or are they just buying time to get through the inevitable reunification of the two sides of the bloodline, so he's available and then he gets his chance at a title?
Well, I think Cody's probably going to hold on to the title for a while, and he's the number one babyface right now. But to me, the babyface of all time, in my opinion, is Ricky Morton of the Rock and Roll Express.
That's true.
That's my all-time favorite babyface wrestler. And
he very rarely had a title. Right, very rarely. Ricky very rarely had a title. He was always
very rarely. And aside from being the tag team champion, and I think Cody's going to be there a minute. I don't think he's going to be budged. I said on Twitter, I think he's going to be there a good year.
Yeah, so, I agree. Do you think Jey Uso is the next guy to win the U.S. title? Does he beat Logan Paul maybe in Cleveland? Logan Paul's hometown?
I think he may be. I like his style. I like his look. Since I've been doing the podcast and branching out, looking at other wrestlers, it's opened up doors for me to give my opinion. And I think he may be on the board.
Yeah, I think that would be a good fit, because Logan's going to hold it until he gets the event in his hometown in front of a sellout. And what better way for the heel champion to get his rewards than losing at his hometown in front of a sellout stadium?
I was surprised at the revenue that The Rock has generated that he cut out as soon as he did. I would have thought he would have stayed in the ring a little bit longer. I was a little disappointed by that.
Well, he'll be back. Movies. Yeah. He's doing a Disney movie and also an MMA movie. So,
which is so funny, because they couldn't be more different.
Explain that, but I still thought he would have been there a minute or two more as ticket sales were through the roof.
I'm sure he wouldn't mind.
if we're gonna be technical, I would say he is there because I think he is the puppet master behind Solo. Because who's telling him what to do? It's not Roman.
Nope.
It's the final boss. That's what
I think. And it's not the older brothers. It's not the Usos.
No.
Because Jimmy's on the outside right now. Go ahead.
That's exactly right. I just wanted to go back to something you said when you were saying that the baby faces that don't win. You're exactly right, because my personal favorite baby face of all time is Sting, and he is not known for his title reigns. He's an icon, he's a legend, but he did not have very long title reigns at all. And often they were like in WCW, it was so delayed by the time he got it, it was almost an afterthought. So I can agree. I hadn't thought about that. But, I was saying on Twitter that I think, I hope this is not what they're doing, but I could see it because I know I could see it. I could see with Jay Because if you remember how Roman was always in his head, like, you're nothing without me, and I made you, and you always come up short. That the mind games he played, and I could see them like coming full circle, like Roman coming back, and when they do get back together, like, see, I told you, you were never going to get to the top without me. Because is it not ironic that Jey Uso and Jimmy went from being the longest reigning tag team title holders of all time in WWE, the top, they who was it? They beat the New Day, I think it was, for the longest reigning. He went from that, and then he held the tag team titles with Cody Rhodes for like 2 seconds, and then he hasn't held gold since. So there's something to be said for it. Does he need to go heel again to actually hold gold? I personally think so. I would love to see him beat Logan Paul, and honestly, where they're at with the demand, the upswell of support for Jay, I feel like he will beat Logan. But then there's that little part of me that's like, well, Logan makes the company a lot of money. Are they going to take the title off of him? We'll see.
Well, he could always go back and recapture it because he can have his chase. I think Logan is on like they're making a big deal that he's not part-time, but he's not full-time either. He's like a half-time worker, because he's got a lot of other stuff going on. So he's getting he's kind of pawing at it. He's getting his reps in, but not a full go by any means. Well, let's one more Backlash. Cody Rhodes, AJ Styles, great match. I mean, they went at it. It's a match that took place 21 years after AJ wrestled Dusty Rhodes back with the NWA title back in the beginning of Impact Wrestling. So there's a long history between the two of them, and not even getting into the various reigns in the Bullet Club where they didn't necessarily meet because their paths didn't cross. But a lot of history. It was a great match to have. What's next for Cody? What do you want to see next? Either one.
Anyone.
Yeah.
Oh, she's smiling at me.
Well, she's going to say a rematch with Roman Reigns, but that won't happen for a while.
No. I'm going to say something unique. You go ahead.
I think Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles could probably go a while back and forth. And that's what made WCW so great. Back in my day was once they found two workers that could work together, they let them work. And that's what's different to me in today's style versus the style I came up in. It's not as competitive in singles competition as it once was. It's getting that way again. But
they could absolutely have a rematch. That's true.
Yes, sir. I think a rematch would be outstanding.
Yeah. Who else would you want to see get in there against Cody? What do you think, Martina? Who's next?
I would say, believe it or not, I actually am not going to say Roman because I emotionally cannot handle seeing Roman lose again. Like it's been a month and I'm still not over it. I can't do it. I can't take it. But my opinion of Cody and AJ, I'm sorry, I was not a fan, and I respect them both. They both physically. It was amazing. Visually, lots of moves. It was very physical. The match itself was not bad. I just don't feel like it was PLE worthy. I feel like, how do you go from something? I feel like Cody won the title in too dramatic of a fashion to have this regular match the next PLE. No interference, no treachery, no deceit. Nobody turned on anybody. No, I want some drama. This is a PLE. We're in another country. I wanted more drama. I didn't want a good, clean match. He didn't win it clean. I mean, I know he's a face, but, I felt like they could have done a little bit more drama storyline-wise. But in terms of his next opponent, I actually would like to see a feud with Randy. But I think that's going to be a problem because they're both faces. So I'm curious to see how they're going to run that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's up for grabs. I mean, LA Knight deserves probably a title run, but he's had multiple chances and come up short. He's in that same camp as Jey Uso, really.
They're the same person in that regard.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
Yeah, you could see LA Knight going for one of those mid titles, but it's kind of now you're in that lull usually that you always get after WrestleMania because okay, what's next? And it takes a little while to build up. I think Gunther would be a great opponent because that would tie in to the Royal Rumble where Cody
That's true.
beat Gunther coming in as the last person at the Rumble, while Gunther had been in there since the beginning and really took away that heavyweight title shot from Gunther. So I mean, that would be I think, a great match. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting.
I was just gonna say, speaking of which, my second most favorite, Drew. I love Drew.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, I feel like he's gonna, or he better win at Clash at the Castle. Say that 10 times fast. If he does not win at Clash at the Castle, we riot. But who is he going to beat? What title is he going to get? Because is he going to beat Damian Priest, or he's not going to beat Cody. So I guess it has to be Damian Priest. I answered my own question. It's got to be Damian.
Yeah. Well, and now it's Drew McIntyre's turn to be hurt. CM Punk seems to be, close to ready to go. But now Drew McIntyre looks like he's injured. So that match is going to get delayed a little bit more. And I would caution the WWE not to get CM Punk in too many matches because the last 3 years haven't been kind to him injury-wise.
I was thinking the same thing. Like, honestly, he needs to stay on commentary. Like, I love CM Punk, but like you said, he gets injured it's not his fault, but he does get injured very easily. I think that when him and Drew have that match, they're kind of smart though, that they're dragging it out, which is good. And especially now with Drew being injured, I'm like, but when do you, to ask a question, when do you think they'll actually run CM Punk versus Drew in the ring?
It's a good question. I mean, heck, it may be SummerSlam. It's going to really depend on Drew McIntyre's health at this point. Because I don't think CM Punk will do much more than get out there and talk. He's not going to wrestle.
That's all they're letting him do right now, and I think he's trying to make noise in his own light. And I think a match between he and Cody would be out of this world if they would turn him loose and let him go.
Oh yeah, so, yeah, but I don't see that coming
he's
because
been on the block a minute.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's only so many people that are like Sting, like Billy Gunn, like Chris Jericho, that are pushing 50 and they're still going. And to be fair, Christian. We'll talk about them in a second. Christian and the Rated R superstar Adam Copeland. I mean, it's a special athleticism that lets you go that hard when you're touching 50, and CM Punk's getting pretty close. Well,
is he? How old is he?
Upper 40s.
Oh, okay. I knew he was in his maybe 45 or something.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm rounding up, but I mean, getting close.
Yeah, I think you're right. What you said, Sonny, I would, in a perfect world, I would very much like to see Cody versus CM Punk. But again, like we said, CM Punk is extremely injury prone. And honestly, Cody's not far behind him. That shoulder, he's been doing a lot of, we're like, is that shoulder okay over there?
Yeah.
He missed some crossroads and landed on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And of course, we can't have him injured. But I guess what I would say to that is, I feel like they have a Cody Rhodes problem in that there's not a lot of heels for him to face right now. Everybody's a face. Where's his next great rivalry?
Is it a returning Seth Rollins?
What I miss are the days of the top 10 rankings going for the title. Who was in line. You don't know who's in line now, so it's hard. To me, it's harder to get in back of people if I don't know who they are.
Used to break out the Pro Wrestling Illustrated and go to the rankings pages.
That's cool.
That's very true.
Yeah, true. And AEW has the rankings, and they kind of fade in and out. They're out again. They brought it back, and then it got kind of vilified, and they're back on again. Well, let's talk about AEW because they're doing something that's unique for them, but it's a classic, tried and true pro wrestling move. Turn on the boss. Let's beat the boss down. And now you're seeing the development of the Young Bucks, the EVPs, they're starting the new elite with the scapegoat Jack Perry, which explains why they played the security video, why he was ripping up the contract on New Japan TV. It was all to set up to bring him back, which I think actually surprised people because they were getting ripped so much. Why are you playing this? Why are you showing this? Now it makes perfect sense because honestly, Jack Perry didn't do much of anything. And it makes you wonder when you actually see the video, did they all just realize CM Punk wanted to go and just said, okay, fine. Hey, just leave, just go. Because there wasn't anything in that video that was that bad where Jack Perry deserved to be brushed off.
So
and yeah. And as it turns out, he probably really wasn't because they have a working relationship with New Japan. So I think the storyline was developing the whole time, which is a credit because AEW gets criticized all the time for not having long-term stories. Well, here's one.
I replayed the video a couple times to see if I missed anything.
Yeah.
So did I. What are we looking for here?
Yeah. I mean, I've covered sports, professional sports and wrestling for over 30 years. And man, you see that all the time. And it generally never even gets reported. That's nothing. Baseball
like,
players chasing each other with a bat. Okay, yeah, that happens. That's not good. But yeah, but it was nothing. But now you have the Bucks, Okada, Jack Perry, and they're facing off against the other remaining EVP, Kenny Omega, and they're tying into reality. Kenny did have diverticulitis, still may have it to a degree. Obviously not to the degree he was saying in the promo because they're not insane. They wouldn't risk killing Kenny. Right. That's another show. That's South Park.
I was just about to say this.
Yeah. Yeah. So Kenny Omega now is the good authority figure going up against the EVPs. And you have Eddie Kingston, Bryan Danielson, and FTR joining forces against him for the Anarchy in the Arena match. Does that excite you? That should be pretty fun, actually.
I like it. I actually think that is exciting. What you said is so true. The evil boss, like that, yep. I think it works. And as much as there is to dislike about Vince McMahon, I will say I do think he mastered the evil boss. Like he did a good job with that.
Oh, yeah.
He was. You don't see many billionaires that are okay with getting beat down weekly, catching bedpans to the face. I'll never remember when Stone Cold. I'll never forget that. Getting mollywopped, and then Tony Khan, bless his heart, getting a pile driver, and he's this is his story. He's sticking with it with the neck brace and everything. I was like, yep. Oh, Tony, I respect it. I like what he's doing though. I like it.
Yeah, I think they're heading in a really good direction, and it's a tried and true direction. So there's one big match on their 5th year anniversary pay-per-view, which is coming up real soon because they've taken on almost a WWE-like schedule. The other matches that we already know are coming. How about Christian Cage, who when he was signed, Tony Khan said this is going to be one of the biggest signings in our company history, and it really got ridiculed to say, no, he's overstating this. This isn't that big of a deal. But Christian's done a great job, and he's done the job of both a face when he initially came in, because he was the person who took away the first belt from Kenny Omega during his belt collector phase. Christian beat him for that Impact Heavyweight Championship.
That's right.
And then turned evil to become the Patriarchy, and saying that he not outworked everyone, he worked everyone. And you've seen this heel run, this classic heel run by Christian as the TNT champion, and now chasing after Swerve. Sonny, I'm really impressed. I mean, he's doing old school classic heel work, and it is getting over pretty much everywhere they go.
Loving the old school approach to the new attitude era of wrestling.
Yeah.
People want to see originality, and they want to see athletic matches. Triple H made a comment down on Twitter that people were ready to see more athletic matches, and he was ready to give it to them. And the other leagues are starting to follow through with that. AEW's doing that. Ring of Honor's doing that.
Yeah.
So I think this is a little wave that we're all riding out to see how far it can go.
And I think Christian's doing a great job. I mean, the old classic heel references of ripping whatever city you're in. And he really plays that smug, condescending person well, and kind of worked Swerve. Swerve thought he had the
Oh
Mogul
man,
Embassy behind him, and then they attacked him.
I
I was
loved
surprised.
it.
Yeah.
What you said is so true. Like, I have always liked Christian, like way back when it was Christian Edge. I always felt like they just didn't treat him right. And it comes out years later that Vince like straight up did not like him. And you could tell it showed in his booking. I felt like he never really got his true, we never saw the best of him. That's a common theme with a lot of people. Like, we didn't see their best until years later. But I agree, he's a fantastic heel. The things he says as a heel are actually really, truly like mean, because some heels are kind of corny. You're like, but the stuff he says, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. Like I like his faction, the patriarchy. And you're right. I'm not going to lie. That did get me last night. I did not think the Mogul Embassy was going to turn on Swerve. And then of course he's over there cackling. I was like, oh man, that was smooth. That was smooth.
That was good. Yeah. And then we had a heartfelt address from the professor, Serena Deep, who is, she's one of the best technical wrestling women out there. She's a terrific wrestler. She actually told a story that had to be just incredibly frightening as a pro wrestler. If you have a seizure condition, there's no way you can take bumps in the ring. So it explained why she was gone so long and really gave her motivation, and then tied into Timeless Tony Storm being kind of in a delusional haze, and Serena Deep tried to kind of slap her out of the delusion. I don't think Serena Deep wins, but I think they did a good job of getting the people behind her, where she had been a really pretty unlikable heel most of her tenure in AEW.
I agree. I think they did a good job of making us care about her, because I agree with you. She's so good, but I felt like, again, they just they weren't giving her compelling promos. They weren't giving us a reason to get on her side. But, and I actually applaud her, because I do follow her, and she was sharing about her story with her seizures condition. And I was like, dang, that was very vulnerable of her to share her real life. It kind of reminded me of Roman talking about his cancer. Like, that's real life. Yeah. Like that's her real life and her career. And unfortunately, I don't think she'll win, but I respect her for, being brave enough to go for it. Because some people, might have said, I'm not going to do it if I can't win. So I respect it.
Well, and I think they're doing what do you want to say? They're not getting enough credit for it. They've done a very good job the last few months, coinciding with Mercedes Moné's arrival, of building up their women's division. There's more stories. There's more wrestlers involved. The things they're doing make more sense. And you're building levels below just that current championship match. You have Deonna Purrazzo and Thunder Rosa that are going to be going at each other at some point.
That's right.
Statlander's getting in there, getting involved with Willow. Sky Blue has really stepped up dramatically. They're going to be without Julia Hart for a while. She actually has a legit shoulder injury. But you got the return of Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, coming soon, and Jamie Hayter. So they're going to be rolling. They're getting pretty stacked up. And Sonny, one of your contemporaries, Wendy Richter, she did answer Tony Storm's challenge. She said if they pay her enough, she's ready to face Tony Storm.
I think she will be.
They got to bring her in.
I'm very interested in the women's division.
Yeah,
I'm keeping up with Charlotte Flair too, who's still wearing who's just come out of knee surgery and still wearing her knee brace. So I'm a little concerned about her return at SummerSlam. She may, as I've said before, I think she may have to rely on technical mat wrestling as opposed to high flying moves to start with. But rest assured, she'll probably go back airborne again.
Yeah, no, she'll be back real soon. You can follow her and Andrade El Idolo. I did see her actually at WrestleMania. She's walking around just fine with no brace on. Now that's not wrestling, that's walking, but yeah, she's going to be back soon. So yeah, it's definitely always a factor. Now, just one more AEW matchup, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. Are you ready for the CEO to step in the ring? Are you excited about seeing Mercedes Moné? I know they wanted to get her out there. They wanted to debut her. And just unfortunately, she had her debut a couple of months before she's medically cleared to get in the ring. So they had their choice was, okay, everybody knows she's signed. It's leaked out. We either have her come out and make her debut in her hometown of Boston, or they could have waited until about now and had her come out to debut, and then it would have been a more natural progression to her first match. What do you think, Martina? Did they make the right call there?
At first I was thinking no. At first I was like, okay, get in the ring, get in the ring. But then she did that promo. I will say I feel like they should have done this promo earlier. Because it was several weeks, if not a couple months after she debuted, when she gave that promo and said, "As soon as I'm cleared." And I'm like,
Yep.
oh, well, y'all should have said that from the beginning. But I will say, I think they have done a good job of story building with Willow, because I'm not gonna lie, that is something that the real life story, for those that don't know. Willow really did break her arm. All right, she didn't do it, but in a match, she really did break her arm. Or was it her arm or her foot? I think her foot.
Yeah, her ankle.
There you go.
Yep.
So that I was waiting in real life. As soon as I saw that, that news story break, I said then, I was like, they're going to come back to this. I think they've done a good job of building, animosity and, I'm coming for you. You didn't, the asterisk next to your name, you didn't really win that title. I just got injured. I think they've done a good job with that. And I think Willow is a really good face. Because y'all know I don't like faces. I usually think they're boring, but she's a good face. It suits her. I like it. I am invested. I do want to see it. I'm looking forward to it.
Good enough. Well, with that, let's go ahead and wrap it up, because we're running up against the time clock. The time limit's coming up. So let's go ahead with our weekly champion. Sonny, who's your champion of the week? Who won the week for you?
My champion of the week is Matt Hardy. He is hard at training his children to be the next royal family of professional wrestling. He too has lost it all, and he has reinvented himself as a former character that he once portrayed in wrestling.
Yep.
That's won over like gangbusters. So my champion of the week is Matt Hardy.
It's a good one, yeah. Delete. He has lost. He looks great. Good one.
That is a good one. My champion of the week is Ilya Dragunov. I hope I pronounced that correctly, because I think he had one of the best debut Raw matches that I've ever seen. For those that don't know him, that dude is crazy. He is intense. He is talented. He's definitely a future world champion. Like, I know he was an NXT champion, but he's going to be he's going to be a WWE champion as well. I'm looking forward to seeing what he has to offer, because he's incredible.
The Mad Dragon, that's a good one. And I'm going to go on the theme of weight loss, and that is a good one. Matt Hardy running wild right now in TNA. He made his debut at their premium event at the Palms Casino just recently. I'm going to go with another person who has met the criticism of body shaming and responded to it. Sheamus came back early and got just hammered on social media. They were calling him whale miss. They asked if he had, instead of lifting weights, he was lifting Big Macs. I mean, the guy had neck surgery. He was laid up, couldn't lift weights for 6 months, and he came back and wrestled a hard match in his return against a large man. And not a small man with the Viking warrior. He got the Viking Raider. He got in there and responded back saying, "Hey, I'm going to live in the gym. I came back a month earlier than I thought I was going to." He looked great. You could tell he probably dropped 15 pounds in the 2 weeks, and he went at it with
I read
the
that.
ring general Gunther for what would have been in the past a PLE match. And one
Yes,
other, I mean, it was a great match. So
it
Sheamus
was.
gets a championship, and I'm going to give one other one to Saraya, because Saraya walked up to a couple of fans, and you could see this on TV on AEW. They were making, kind of sexually demeaning comments towards Mariah May and Harley Cameron. And
And
Saraya went
Sky
over and said,
Blue.
"Hey, these two, on Sky Blue, these two right here, these two idiots, got them out of there, because nobody deserves that. You're free to cheer, you're free to boo, you're free to chant or say whatever, but when you get into legitimate personal attacks, your ticket doesn't buy that." And kudos to Saraya for going up to those two and saying, "Hey, get these guys out of here. Nobody deserves this. We don't need it."
That's
So
right.
a couple of champions around, but definitely, good one, Sonny. Matt Hardy, the broken Matt Hardy, back
Broken my heart.
I
in
did not know he
TNA.
was back. I have to go
Yeah,
look. I love Matt Hardy. Fellow
and
North Carolinian.
looks
I gotta go
looks
look.
great. Yeah, Matt Hardy and Nick Nemeth teaming up
Yes.
in
They're
TNA.
teaming. I just realized what you
Yeah,
said. They're teaming.
teaming together. Yep.
Oh,
And
okay. All
then,
right. Let me go watch TNA then. Need to write that down.
Sonny, we need to follow Sheamus and get ourselves into the gym for 8 hours a day like Sheamus. It may be hard with our full-time jobs, though.
I love Sheamus. I didn't realize they were going that hard on him. I've always liked
Oh yeah,
Sheamus. I loved him, and I'm like, I felt like people were being way too hard on him. I'm like,
yep.
he's a legend. Like, okay, he's fine. People act like he was like my 600-pound life or something. Like, it was not
Yeah.
nearly as bad as people were making it.
No. And they got in and they photoshopped the picture to make him look heavier. And the reality is, full and well, 90% of the people that were online ripping into Sheamus were doing it while sitting in their mom's basement, watching the old TV, eating a Pizza Hut pizza, drinking a 6-pack of Natty Light, and eating a bag of Cheetos, because they were getting warmed up to play their video games. So, shut off.
Right.
I guarantee you
Right.
Sheamus was in better shape than about 98% of the people that were getting on there and ripping into him. Well, for that, we'll wrap it up here on Weekly Champions for Wrestling Spotlight. For Sonny, the Man Eagle Cain, getting ready to fly off the top rope again as a junior heavyweight soon. And for Martina Barnett, I'm Gerald Bentley. Thanks for joining us here. Have a good night. Hey, thanks.